Well, several organizations say that the judgment, the imprisonment of the former president does send a strong message to the country and the world that the rule of law applies in South Africa. Defend Our Democracy is a coalition of individuals with convenors including Reverend Chikane and ANC veteran and businesswoman Cheryl Carolus. She joins us now. Ms. Carolus, thank you for being with us. Firstly, Defend Our Democracy, this coalition, who's involved and what prompted you to get together?
Good evening, Francis, and good evening to the listeners. The Defend Our Democracy campaign consists of a wide range of civil society organizations and people from various leadership positions across party political lines who came together and just decided that we really cannot stand by while this drama, this assault on the Constitutional Court and on the Zondo Commission, these institutions of accountability, we couldn't stand by and just watch that. And we actually realized that there's far more that unites us, Francis, than what divides us. And certainly when it comes to the most important thing in our country, and that is the Constitution and equality before the law, that we were all unanimous in our support of that. And it was time to speak out together, and instead of us in our own corners.
However, talking about unity versus division, I think you were able to hear. And can you give us a comment on what the provincial chair, Sihle Zikalala, has just been saying? You are saying on the one hand, well, you're suggesting that the former president assaulted the Constitution. He is saying that he will never betray the former president, lauding Jacob Zuma for the role he's played.
Francis, we are all entitled to how we view the former president and what he's done. There's no question that you can't take away the fact that the former president had in fact sacrificed enormously to achieve what we have. From my point of view, which is why I just didn't understand why he would trample on that huge legacy and contribution that he's made, and in fact trample on the Constitution and the institutions like the Constitutional Court, which he had helped to build. It just was crazy. And I think those of us who were there with him certainly had a very different view about it.
What about the ANC? So the National Executive Committee sent officials. Sihle Zikalala says that the provincial party was involved in those engagements. But the fact is, high-ranking ANC officials went to Nkandla rather than distance themselves from Nkandla, where gatherings that were prohibited were happening. I know social distancing was happening. Arguably, the former president was contravening a constitutional court order by not handing himself over. That was all happening at Nkandla.
Francis, I think today is a triumph for the rule of law and constitutionalism, that whatever may have preceded in the previous few days, without a doubt, there were lots of people working incredibly hard to arrive at where we are. And I think, again, for the former president and for his family, it must have been a set of very difficult choices that they had to go through. And the fact of the matter is that let us not distract from the fact that he, in fact, voluntarily handed himself over. We averted what could have been a very ugly and possibly a bloodstain on our country's name. The former president and his
Ms.
family...
Carolus, did he voluntarily hand himself over? He missed the deadline by several days to hand himself over.
Yes, Francis, he missed the deadline. But he, as you could see, the police did not have to forcibly go and get him. So whatever evolved since Sunday when his voluntary deadline expired now, there's no question that the former president decided to cooperate in his presenting himself to the Correctional Services facility. And I'm enormously grateful that he did do that, and that his family and everybody. And I really think we should allow the former president and his family some privacy to process a very difficult new set of circumstances that they find themselves in.
Do you have any comment, Ms. Carolus, on going forward? I think your co-convener, the Reverend Chikane, was talking about the possibility of a presidential pardon, saying, well, that is complicated. Any comments on that? And obviously the former president, even in jail, is going to get a lot of attention in coming weeks and months while the ANC itself is trying to deal with its schisms and get on with the job of service delivery.
No, that's exactly the point, Francis, that I think let us not overextend ourselves. I think that, the presidential pardon, what we're seeing today is that the rule of law has been reasserted. We've all been reminded of due process and that equality before the law applies, and it cuts all ways. The former president, if he is of a mind to apply for that and to use that facility, he will use the normal due process which exists. It is clearly outlined. There's a simple procedure for how that happens. So I think we shouldn't speculate today. I'm sure the former president has got other matters on his mind today. But I think seriously, the country is desperately grateful that we can put that unpleasant saga behind us. And it's a warning to everyone else who's going to find themselves in a similar situation that the rule of law will apply to you equally. That the culture of impunity, we've drawn a line under this perceived culture of impunity in our country. We need to deal with COVID. We need to deal with the economy. We need to, in fact, support people in our country who are desperately impacted by this dreadful COVID disease. So I think that today the culture of impunity has been given a huge knock. I believe that Carl Nias has been arrested. And I think people must know that from today onwards, we're opening a new chapter where there are consequences for your behavior, and especially for unlawful behavior. I think for a long time, people felt there's just impunity. Well, it doesn't happen anymore. So can we please allow the former president and his family the dignity of considering the new circumstances? And can we allow the president, his cabinet, and in fact the ANC and ordinary citizens to start tackling the COVID crisis and the economy seriously?
All right, thank you very much for your time. That was the convener of Defend Our Democracy, ANC veteran Cheryl Carolus, and of course a prominent businesswoman as well.